My character, he is kind of dropped out of school a few years ago. He is stuck in this job that he hates and in love with this girl who he is kind of never told. And when he has the bomb strapped to him and knows that he has a finite period of time to live, he quits his job. He, confesses his love to this girl. He kind of tries to mend a relationship with his best friend that has been strained over the past several years. So it really is kind of ironically the best thing that could have happened to him. There's some pretty big set pieces where we'd have a long strip of road and 20 stunt drivers all driving around me, and I'm supposed to kind of weave in and out of them, and the crew is I think oftentimes fearful for their lives because I'm not such a great driver, but they allowed me to drive, and I guess sometimes they need to see me personally driving, so I got to drive in a lot of the scenes, and no one was injured. I think the character that Danny's playing was written for him. It's so specifically his voice. He has such a unique way of being intimidating and just terrible, and at the same time somehow sweet and endearing and funny. It's a very, very strange and unique combination, and it's so important that character has that because he has an arc. As awful as the character is, he kind of has he kind of has his own storyline, and you kind of almost root for him at some point as an audience. Ruben has a really great sense of maintaining, kind of what seems honest for the characters, even set against the backdrop of a very broad movie. And for an actor, that's kind of the most important thing you want from a director, is that somebody who can account for what your character is going through and deal with it in a way that both serves the story and also seems to be in line with what you're bringing to it. Having said that, he also has just a great sense of what's cinematic and what's funny and what looks great, in terms of the way the movie is shot. And so the movies end up being entertaining as well, but he never compromises character. I think the movie tells kind of a very provocative and interesting and kind of compelling story, but in the real way. So even though it's funny and even though it's like, there's got this great high concept to it, and there's a chase, and there's like a countdown literally for the bomb. I think the characters are real and the emotions are real and the relationships are dealt with honestly, and so I think it'll tell this really kind of entertaining story, but not in a way that ever compromises the people that are inside of it.
When I first read it, I thought it was really funny. I liked the tone of it a lot. I thought it just seemed like it was nuts, a movie where a guy runs around the whole time with a bomb on his chest. It just seemed like a pretty crazy setup for a comedy. It has chases, it has near explosions, it has flamethrowers. I mean, that's all the stuff I look for when I see a movie. And I make most of my choices on movies of what I would want to see in the theater. I had never worked with Nick before, but I was a fan of his work, and he's a funny dude. I like him a lot. I've had a great time stomping around this junkyard with him, and I think honestly when the film's over with, we're really thinking about trying to rob a bank for real together, because I feel like we just have such good chemistry here. It just feels like it would translate into the real world that we could do this. Our director, Mr. Ruben Fleischer, I love Zombieland. That was super funny. The directing was amazing in it, and so when I heard that he was interested in me for this film, I was flattered, but also just like thrilled to have the opportunity to work with him and to see what he would do with a movie like this. I mean, Zombieland was very inventive, and it was cool and had I thought, just a really unique tone to it. So when I read this script and knowing he would direct it, I was just really curious to see, what his take on something like this would be. With everything from the chases to the action, it just seemed something that would be ripe for Ruben to bite into. You hear that horn? That means someone just got lit on fire.
The premise of the film is that Jesse Eisenberg's character, Nick, is a pizza delivery guy that gets a bomb strapped on him by Danny McBride's character, and is told he has to rob a bank and get him $100,000. And I play Jesse's character's best friend and have to help him do this. I initially read the script, and I just thought the idea of doing a comedy centered around a bank robbery was such a cool idea that hadn't been done before, and I thought the idea of Ruben, the director of Zombieland, doing it would be really cool, and so I got on board. And they also told me there would be like a lot of Skittles on set. Like whenever I wanted, I could eat Skittles, and I really like Skittles, so I was like, okay, I'm in. It's definitely a weird situation for these guys to kind of be friends that have had this huge falling out, and then they're put back together under the situation of one of them having a bomb strapped to them and being forced to rob a bank. It's just kind of a fun scenario to put these guys in, and I think it's part of the fun of the movie. Last week we shot this crazy finale for the movie where there's a showdown with all the characters. We finally come together, and just some crazy stuff goes down involving flamethrowers, people getting set on fire. It was awesome. It looks so cool. It's one of the things I'm most excited about in the movie. I think if you love, like, you know, smart comedies and you're also up for, like, you know, this action and stuff like that, I think this movie will be right up your alley.
Danny McBride plays Dwayne, who is really the catalyst in this whole movie in terms of coming up with the scheme of needing money, kidnapping Jesse, you know, putting a bomb on him, which was kind of my idea, but Dwayne kind of leads the whole charge. Danny and I think have more of like a sweetness and kind of a kind of, I don't know, like a happy-go-lucky stupid guy vibe where it won't come off as dark, you know. But yeah, it's a really cool movie. Ruben's a friend of mine for a long time. I did one of the first things he ever shot 10 years ago. It was like a short film. So it's really cool seeing Ruben kind of blossom into this, you know, really brilliant director. And you know, I love Zombieland. I thought it was great. And the great thing about Ruben is that he's very comedy friendly, which is really hard to find. It's really hard to find directors who have a great aesthetic and eye for shots and style, you know what I mean? But also like are really good with comedy and trusting the performers and open to, you know, having people collaborate and give ideas for the comedy and stuff, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so hard to find, and Ruben really encompasses all of that, which is great. I'm kind of curious to see how this whole fireball thing turns out that I'm about to shoot in a couple minutes, where I'm going to be physically on fire. So I hope that turns out okay.
I think the reason everybody got excited about this movie is just because the script was really original and funny. It's a story that hasn't been told before, and the characters are all sort of like specific and great opportunities for casting. And there's just so many comedians out there now that I love and was excited to work with that I thought that the script could attract a lot of them. And so for me, that was a really exciting process, was having this piece of material that I thought was really special, and then sending it to people like Danny and Jesse and Nick and Nizzies and getting them excited about it. And, you know, being able to put together that cast that I think is really special, and what defines the movie is just this fresh combination of people who really just bring these characters to life in such an exciting way. But the action component of it, to me, it's just something that elevates like a straightforward comedy and takes it to another level. So if you have a car chase or a flamethrower or whatever it is that is a part of this film that elevates it to bring it to the next level, the bank robbery is heightening the circumstances of the comedy. So if you have people having like a really funny conversation in the midst of a car chase or like in the midst of a bank robbery, it just takes the comedy up a notch, and I think it just raises stakes on everything. I do a lot of improv, and I like to work with actors that are capable of improv, and this movie really features some of the best. I mean, Danny and Nick Swardson, a lot of their conversations are completely unscripted, and they just go off, and it's really, really funny. And then Aziz and Jesse really developed a great working relationship as well, and could work off of each other and kind of come up with things and build off of it. And I like to do a lot of takes so that people have the time to try different things. We might have like 6 versions of one joke between all the different takes, and just want to make sure that we get all the best stuff in that we can, and really allow the actors the freedom to try anything. And when you have really funny people, they tend to bring a lot to the table and just elevate the material and come up with stuff on the day that's just hilarious.
I think people really like how fast the action between the characters go. You know, it's definitely not a film that kind of condescends to the audience and spoon feeds them information. I mean, our premise was always the audience for this film was made up of people who have already seen 600 movies. And we can go as fast as we want, and nobody's going to be left in the dust.
There's a simple scene, which was outside the dollar store, and they're keeping watch of Jesse's character and Aziz's character as they go in to shop at the dollar store to get their supplies. And Danny and Nick are in the car and talking about the tanning salon. And they just go on and on and on. We must have shot 25,000 feet on just them talking about outside this little teeny scene that's like maybe a minute outside the dollar store, but they were just hilarious and we couldn't stop laughing, so we just let them keep going.